Recording in progress.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It is June 18th, 2024. It's 2:02. Welcome to our 2 o'clock Commissioners' Consent Agenda. Let the record reflect that there were no written comments received for items that were printed on today's agenda, and so we will go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So hopefully someone's not allergic to cats over there. Sorry. Bless you. So with that, then, we will go ahead and get started. I do not have anyone scheduled at this point for open public forum, but I will start and open up the open public forum for anyone wishing to testify on any item that is not on today's printed agenda. I'm not seeing anyone in line or anyone in the audience. Second call for anyone wishing to testify at the open public forum. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify at our open public forum. Seeing no one in the audience or no one online, I am then going to close the open public forum and look to my fellow commissioners for a proclamation.
Oh, yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Scott will take whatever someone doesn't want.
Oh, look at you. Oh, my God. Okay, I will. Hi. All right.
Somebody got to get a picture of this because you guys take yourselves too seriously.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would happily read this proclamation in the form of a motion. Whereas June is National Adopt a Cat Month and a time when thousands of loving felines hope to find a forever home. And whereas June is kitten season when too many cats end up homeless, hungry, and afraid. And whereas Spokane Regional Animal Protection Service, SCRAPS, has dozens of cats and kittens ready to go home with you, and dozens more in foster care that will soon be available for adoption. And whereas SCRAPS strives to find loving homes for all the cats they receive. And whereas more information about adoptable cats is available on SCRAP's website at www.spokanecounty.org/scraps. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Spokane County, Washington, on behalf of the citizens of Spokane County, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Adopt a Cat Month in Spokane County. We ask that if you have room in your heart and home, please visit SCRAPS at 6815 East Trent in Spokane Valley to see the many adoptable animals looking for forever homes. Dated this 18th day of June 2024, signed the Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I apologize getting distracted with all the little cute kittens. All 5 commissioners are present at today's meeting, so Commissioner Jordan is missing the kitten opportunity. So with that, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I would. I don't have a cat because my wife would have to put me out. So that's the only reason I don't have one. So thank you.
So with that, Jesse, if you'd like to come up and speak to Adopt a Cat Month.
Jotted a couple things down. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you for proclaiming this to be Spokane County's Adopt a Cat Month. A month that also marks the height of kitten season when, as you said, litters of kittens are born and many times end up in animal shelters. More than ever, animals need our help. This year, thousands of newborn kittens and other companion animals will join the millions of other cats already housed in animal shelters across the nation. Proclaiming June Adopt a Cat Month in Spokane County should encourage animal lovers to visit their local animal shelter and find room in their hearts and homes to adopt a cat or two. Thank you.
Thank you, and we certainly hope citizens want to come out and adopt a kitten because they're just adorable. If you'd like to come up, we'd like to present you with the proclamation, and then sadly, we're going to have to hand the kittens back over.
Thank you.
Thank you all. They were adorable, and Martha Lou, thank you for the treats and the donation to Scraps to keep the kittens active. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so then with that, I will look to my fellow commissioners.
All right. Madam Chair, I move that we approve items 4, 5, and 6, including all sub-items on today's agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for, to approve items 4, 5, and 6 on today's agenda. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? Commissioner Waldron?
Commissioner Jordan had his hand raised. I think we wanted to speak on 6B.
Okay.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yeah, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I just had a couple clarifying questions, if I could, for legal counsel regarding item 6B. So it's hard to see on the screen, but I assume Mr. Anderson's in the room there.
I am, Commissioner.
Okay. The first question is, I just wanted to make clear for the record that the contract today does not involve the changing of any money between the county and the production company. Is that correct?
No, this agreement did not contemplate any payment either direction.
Okay. And as a separately elected official, is it under the sheriff's authority to decide who is allowed into the deputies' cars, generally speaking?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that really the primary reason that the commissioners are being asked to vote on this agreement is essentially to weigh in on the liability provisions that protect the county as a whole from liability?
That's correct. Per county risk transfer contract review policy, any contract that has risk transfer or liability transfer should be brought in front of the board for approval.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Oh,
Waldron.
okay. So just to follow up with Commissioner Jordan's question. So what you're saying is what we're approving today is, from the county commissioner perspective, is whether or not it's that we're not going to take on any more liability for the filming of, with the sheriff's office, with the film production for cops?
Correct. Per the policy, the intent of bringing the agreement, in this case, one from the sheriff's office, where the sheriff does have the authority to take this action himself, is for the board to review the risk transfer and the liability associated with it, and then basically approve that that is an acceptable liability or risk for the county to enter into.
Could I have a few comments and then, is that all right, Madam Chair? Okay. I just wanted to comment that, so this matter 6B is about our sheriff working with the Cops TV show to do some filming of interactions between the sheriff's office and citizens, folks that they interact with in the community. So when it was presented to the county commissioners, I thought we were actually approving the filming of the show. But what we're really doing is, our sheriff is here. The sheriff would like to have the video filming of the show. We're just approving that there's no more liability on behalf of the county than normally your officers would have out in the field for the county. We're not taking on any additional liability with the filming of the show. Is that correct?
Effectively, yes, I would agree with that statement. I will say that the intent beyond the policy of bringing an agreement forward from a separately elected department for the board to review is to review the risk potential, review the potential liability, and assess that, whether that is a risk that the county as a whole is willing to undertake. It would be my assessment in this case, based on the mutual indemnification provisions in this agreement, that this does not add any additional liability to the county by having what is effectively somebody going on a ride-along with the addition of carrying a camera with them.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that, because I think when it was presented last week, it was presented as if the commissioners were approving the filming in and of itself. And I do have some concerns with the Cops TV shows and just how they tend to choose only certain incidents to show. Personally, I don't think it's a priority for me that we would have that filming happen. I feel like it doesn't always put our community in the best light, but I respect that the sheriff would like to have that done, and really there's no additional liability to the county in accepting the contract. So I will vote yes, but I just wanted to put my concerns on the record.
Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to echo Commissioner Waldron's comments and say that, for me personally, I have a lot of respect, as I know we all do, for the hard work our law enforcement officers do. It's an incredibly difficult and important job. And as I've mentioned before, I've worked with many of them previously on child safety cases when I worked for the state. I would encourage any citizen personally to engage in a ride along if you're interested to learn more. I've had the opportunity to do that on several occasions and have just been incredibly impressed by the work that I've seen during those experiences, either during the day or late at night. I do struggle, I think, when it comes to this particular TV show, or the idea of a TV show riding along with the officers. I struggle with the idea of turning some serious situations and that serious work into an entertainment product for a private entity that would presumably profit or seek to sell, TV shows or advertisements with that content. So I struggle with that a bit. And also, it's just not a personal priority for me. One priority that I do have, and I think the board as a whole has, is the need for additional recruitment for law enforcement officers. I know I haven't personally seen any data to suggest that this particular TV show is a recruitment engine for law enforcement. I certainly fully support the recruitment bonus policy that we've put in place and sought to bring some additional resources last year to our public safety related departments to address staffing. So it's a serious issue. But that being said, those are my personal concerns. The real question I think before us today is whether to protect the county from liability, given that it's really the sheriff's call whether this moves forward. So I do appreciate that we have some provisions before us that are essentially holding the county harmless. And so I will support that in order to protect the county from any liability. Thank you.
Commissioner French.
Sheriff Knowles, do you know or remember how long have we been involved with this organization or this show? This is not the first time that they've come into Spokane County, but I don't remember how long we've had a relationship with this organization.
Sheriff, would you please come to the mic?
Commissioner French, you're correct. We have actually a long history with Langley Productions and the Cops production, as well as people will remember probably prior to the pandemic, we had Live PD writing for us, with us for quite some time. And that was quite a bit more involved in the Cops program. But we've probably had a relationship with the Cops program for the better part of 20 years. And I will say that if you're familiar with that show, they do not air footage of anybody, any citizen, without their consent. So they're in town for many, many days. They film, a lot of content, and the only content that actually makes it to the airwaves is with the consent of everybody involved in the incident. So I certainly understand the commissioner's concerns about how it may portray our public, maybe when they're not in their best moments. However, I do believe that it does demonstrate to our community in a way, it increases our reach and demonstrates to our community the professionalism and the excellent work of our sheriff's office deputies. So and when I have to weigh the positives and the negatives, they have a reach that I cannot match in any other way. And I think our people routinely, time and time again, show just how professional and how exceptionally well trained they are. So,
so I'll just state, similar to what I stated in the meeting this last week, that Sheriff Ozzie, the previous sheriff, we had conversations about this show back then, and he did feel it was a recruiting tool, that it did show the professionalism of the deputies, and that it does show which any city that's doing this, the crime that is there. But again, that I think for the sheriff's department, it shows what a great job they do, and how they really do try to help the citizens, even in moments that aren't great for those citizens. Under Sheriff Ritchie did explain that everyone who is on the show, whether it's even a deputy, has to agree to it as well, not just, so deputies are not forced to be part of the show, that they still say, have to sign a waiver saying that they're willing to be shown. Same thing for the people that are on it that are having an incident. So with that, I'm comfortable approving this document or this contract. Anything else? With that, then, all those in favor of the motion is for items 4, 5, and 6, and all sub-items as presented on today's agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You jumped the gun a little bit there, Commissioner Jordan.
We'll still count.
We'll
Just
still
try to
count.
get in. I had to try to get in before Al.
Okay, so now I've lost track. Did I hear ayes from everybody? Okay, very good. So then the motion passes unanimously. So that takes us to the end of our agenda items. Mr. Simmons, do you know we have an executive session?
Yes, we have one miscellaneous item too before that exec session if we have some time for it.
Okay,
And I think that's Ashley's going to come up and just give a quick overview to the board.
thank you.
All righty. Well, thank you for the time today.
So Ashley, just a second. I'm going to make sure you can be seen at that location for the camera. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I am here today to discuss our Spokane County total compensation philosophy. So we've had conversation in the past, but we are at a point in human resources where we need the direction of the Board of County Commissioners on updating our comp philosophy. As a reminder, I know we've had these conversations, but this philosophy has not been updated in many years, 2018 being the most recent update. And it's out of alignment with what we've been using for reviewing compensation. So for our last 3 contracts, when we do a compensation review for positions, we have looked at our comparable counties, and for those counties that are outside of our area and need a geographic differentiator or modifier, we've been applying those. And then we've also been looking at our local market competitors of like industries for similar positions to pull compensation data. And when we pull compensation data, we're pulling the minimum and maximum salaries for like positions. So an example of that could be a boiler operator. A boiler operator has like positions in other counties. Also, there are like positions with similar entities in Spokane who we directly compete against for labor, like a school district that still has boilers. So when we look at compensation, we pull that data and we look at, again, the low end and the high end. For the last 3 contracts, we have used step 1, and we've taken the average of the identified market group, and we have applied a 94% modifier to the average for step 1. The 94% came at the direction to get us to a total compensation rate of 100%. And what I mean by that is when we looked at our comparable, or our competitors, I would say, so the City of Spokane Valley, who we typically compete with the most for labor, we offer about a 6% better benefit package due to our lower premiums. Very similar medical, dental, retirement programs, but we do have lower premiums currently for our employees for those programs at about a 6% amount. So in the past, the last 3 contracts, we've been directed to use 94% of step 1 as the average. And then using the 6% idea that we have a 6% better benefits philosophy. So we have 94 plus 6 gets to 100% total comp. So that's what we've been instructed to use. We are at a point, and this was very much highlighted in the last couple of weeks, where we need direction from the board to update the philosophy across the organization. For example, right now we have all of the data that we need to provide the recommendation to the prosecutor's office for attorney 1. If you remember, they came in and asked for a step 6 for minimum. And if we use just the average at 100%, it absolutely comes in at step 6. If we use the 94% modifier, it comes in at a step 4. Whichever direction you guys would like to tell me to go, I am happy to go. I just need direction so that I can not only do this for, or my team can not only do this for our current prosecutor's office, but we have other positions that we need to review, and we're also heading into our next round of contracts. And so as we are looking at other contracts, what is the philosophy? Now, you could argue that position by position, you would like to decide that if, for example, a position holds a doctorate degree, degree and another doesn't, that you would like us to use a different differentiator for each of those positions. That's within your right as well, which I've spoken with you guys about. So again, I just need to know the direction of where you want me to go. In the past, we've had a consistent total compensation philosophy across the county, but in the event that you guys want to say, well, for these positions, we want you to use 110%, and we'll use the example of, let's say an attorney position. We could, but for all other attorney positions doing similar like work, we would then need to, for consistent pay equity rules, need to use whatever that direction is you give us. Another example is an administrative assistant. For like work, similar work, due to the equal work for equal pay rules, we would need to be consistently administering that. So I just need to know at this point what direction you would like my office to go as we are doing one-off reviews, but also as we are at a point in time where we need to really start prepping for the upcoming contracts that we have that are our non-interest ARB groups, as well as for the rest of our non-rep positions that haven't been reviewed in 4 years. So what I distributed to you guys is the total compensation philosophy that we've had on file. The red font are the recommendations that would align us to what we've done for the last 3 groups that have been reviewed. If you don't like this at all, again, we can scrap it. I can move in a different direction. But again, I just need to understand where to go at this point so that my team can start doing this work, which is coming at us very quickly when we're looking at our upcoming contracts.
So I will start with questions, normally seeing if anyone else does, but I guess I have concerns, because partly here at the county, we've got non-rep and represented people. And so those represented people that is through the union negotiations that those items are set. So to me, this is looking at the non-rep. You and I may have this is where I'm not willing to make a decision today because I think there's a difference of thought and philosophy on this. So I think with the prosecutor's office, and I think, is it then, do we need a sign-on bonus? Just like we have for some other places where we're down. I think that's, if we're going to set it at a certain level and say everybody's going to be at 94%, then what are the things that are going to happen to ensure that we're getting quality people in to take those jobs? That's part of what we looked at when we looked at Public Works. And so I don't feel that I can sit here when every position is very different. An attorney at the prosecuting attorney's office is very different than an executive assistant. And so I know you're the expert, I'm not, but I also, part of family business that does this, and we talk about it as well. And so I know we need to get prosecutors in, we're down. Just like we needed to get sheriff's deputies in, we need to get corrections officers, which are arbitration unions, so it's a difference. But we've done sign-on bonuses, which we just approved today for them to try to help us get to where we need to be. I see the prosecutor's office as no different in that we've got to get attorneys in those positions. Otherwise, the system that we have doesn't work for our criminal justice system. I mean, because the sheriff can arrest people, but if we don't have prosecuting attorneys to prosecute, we're putting our citizens at risk. So I think the fact that you want this for today for the prosecutors, because you want to be consistent across the entire county, I'm not sure that we can be consistent across the entire county. And so I think I have more questions than answers at this point. So that's where I'm at. Any other comments for Ashley? No. Commissioner Waldrop.
Well, yeah, there's a lot to consider as we move forward, and I think it is important to have a structure or philosophy that we're consistent with. Has there been, would there be a way, I like what you were saying, Madam Chair, about, is there a different way to get at, if we were to still have the 94% as our philosophy, if we wanted to keep that? To do like a bonus structure for folks that are coming in? Or the issue, though, is we still have prosecutors, though, that are currently here that are also underpaid compared to comparables, right? That's the
Yep.
challenge with
Correct.
a bonus structure.
Yeah, so
I'm answering my own question.
yeah, so basically, we know we're under market. And so, and we are in a lot of positions. It's not just the prosecutor's office. I want to make sure we're very clear on this, which is part of why I need guidance as we start heading into our next round of contracts, as we're trying to do all that work that we have to have done in the next couple months, as we're looking at non-reps for our manager positions that are also that are going to slide underneath these contract groups as we lift them up. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so consistently, and best practice is to have a consistent philosophy. To that point, we could always do sign-on bonuses or retention or things like that. But when we already know we're under market, we need to solve that first. And then we can definitely add on additional things like we've done with the sheriff's office, with the sign-on bonuses, detention. But at this point, we know we're under market, and we're being asked to review positions and make one-off decisions that in the event that we do end up with an EEOC claim, yes, we could position by position say, well, this group gets 98 and this group gets 102 and this position gets 45 because they're doing similar work. That's going to be what gets looked at as equal work for equal pay. So if you're doing like work, admin type work, attorney work, management work, right? These will be typically the groups that the EEOC will come in and request. The other issue is they don't come in and request a review for one department. As a just overarching understanding, Spokane County is technically the employer when it comes to the Equal Opportunity Commissioner, Human Rights Commission. The last time that this came up, which we wound up not having to luckily move through all of it, we were already working on it on the back end, but the last time we had a claim like this come through for an equal work for equal pay violation, EEOC did not ask us for the one position for the data. They asked me for every single position at the county with every single current county incumbent in that role, with every single class spec, with the experience of each of the people and the pay of each of the people and how they were rated and graded. So even though it was one position that this came forward on in an EEO claim about 1.5 years ago, we are one employer, which speaks to why I would recommend a consistent philosophy in how we're setting our compensation. Again, we can look at above and beyonds and one-offs. If you want to do one position at a higher level, then the recommendation I would have is, again, we would document it. For this reason, these positions are going to get 100%. For this reason, these positions get 94%. Maybe it is based on the contract. But we really need to have something documented so that if and when we end up in a situation of question, we have something we can fall back on to demonstrate why certain positions are in these groups and why they're being given different percentages for that minimum pay.
So I guess what when you called me yesterday and we were talking about this item for miscellaneous, I am open to looking at different percentages. I would like them to be consistent, to have a consistent philosophy. And what I would need is understanding what 94%, what 97%, what 100% would do budget-wise, right, for our budgeting in the future here at the county. Because that's a lot of, it doesn't sound like a big increase between 94 and 97, but for every position across the county, I'm just most concerned about being able to sustainably budget for that. So I know it's kind of like wagging the dog here, but like I kind of need to know too what we can afford at the county over the next several years, and that will help inform my philosophy to some degree, because I certainly want to make sure we are paying people at a fair market wage. So that's not an answer for you, except that that is information that's important to me to understand.
Commissioner French.
So, Ms. Cameron, how many unions do we have here at the county?
19.
19. 19 different unions, and when we negotiate with the unions, the majority of them have a Me Too clause, which means that everybody ultimately gets treated the same. So even if we were to, and this is, I think, speaking to part of the challenge that you're presenting to the board, is that if we don't have a unified policy that addresses the entire county, that we will end up being subjected to contract negotiations that ultimately will get us to a point where the Me Too will force us to harmonize our policy and stuff. So I appreciate the fact that you're bringing this to us and challenging us to adopt a policy that will not only facilitate those union contract negotiations, which I believe start later on this year and next year, but also the one thing that we do not want to do is violate EEOC or the Fair Labor Act stuff. So I shared those comments not because you don't know them or we don't know them, but I want to make sure that the audience knows that that's part of the challenge that we have to be able to confront and stuff. So my inclination is to adopt a policy that is competitive with the market so that we can hire good quality people to provide a good service for the taxpayers. I will tell you that during my time here at the county, we've got some incredible employees. And when this county was in difficult times, back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, that it was the unions that agreed to freeze their salaries so that we could right-size the ship. So we've got, the reason I say that is because I think that speaks to the dedication that our employees have to serving the community. It's not a secret that you do not engage in public service because you want to make a lot of money. You engage in public service because you want to serve the public, but you also don't want to be disproportionately disadvantaged for those that are in the private sector. And so thank you for challenging us to deal with this and take this on. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up at. But I just wanted to share with the audience some of the challenges that we confront. And part of this has been exasperated with COVID. Some of this has been exasperated with the post-COVID environment where a lot of people just flat out don't want to work. And our labor market has been turned upside down. And we have got several sectors within the county that we just cannot find employees for. And while I never thought in my lifetime I'd be saying this, we need more attorneys to make the criminal justice system work. I know Mr. Anderson's over there going, I got him. Mr. Jordan too. So we need more than the two we've got. But, you know, if the criminal justice system is going to work and work effectively for the community, we do need to have them at the table, either working to defend or working to prosecute. So this is not a challenge that's unique to Spokane. Counties across the state are being challenged with this lack of attorneys. Our entry-level pay for an attorney here at Spokane County is a fraction of what it is in some of the other counties within the state. And now, the good news is you get to live in Spokane County. as opposed to Timbuktu. Notice I didn't specifically identify a county, but there are counties that are really hurting for legal counsel. So anyway, appreciate the challenge that you present us with and look forward to see what we come up with. Thank you.
Commissioner Waldron.
So I've just been thinking through this and reflecting on what the other commissioners have shared. And I'm just wondering, since our direct competitor for our prosecutors are other counties and for their prosecutor positions, would there be a way to kind of create that this is a class or a group of employees that we need to be comparing to those comparables, including the benefits because the benefits, I would guess, from some of our comparable counties are going to be similar. We're not going to be ahead on the benefits like we might be in the private sector. So wondering if you've looked into that to kind of create like, this is a class of employee, these are our competitors, the benefits are about the same, so therefore it's not a plus up of 6%, right? Is there a way we can work that to say we need to be competitive for this class of employee at 100% because the benefits are not a factor, right? They're going to be the same, give or take, unless you've looked at other counties and the benefits are different.
Yep, so we've looked at other counties, benefits are similar. So just for awareness of what we've looked at for the attorney one example, Benton County, Clark County, Kitsap County, Pierce County, Snohomish, Thurston, Yakima. We also pulled the Attorney General, their Attorney 1 level position, and the City of Spokane. So we looked at all of those, and the benefits for other counties are very similar. They can vary from place to place for the premiums, but very similar packages. And then we also look at the City of Spokane, and we really look more at our local cities when it comes to benefit. So City of Spokane Valley, STA we looked at, right? So some of the other groups that we have in that. So to answer your question, yes, we could do that for every single position, for every single group. I will be coming back and asking for additional headcount in order to make that happen if we are going to be moving in that direction. I have one employee that does all of the classification and compensation analysis for all of the county right now. That includes all of our contracts. I have one labor relations manager for all of our contracts. That's a lot of work. This is the smallest HR team I've ever had for an employer of this size, which we are making it work. But if we start getting into a position where we're being asked to do one-offs for all of these different positions or groups, we absolutely can make it happen, but it will require additional headcount to make that work. So I still have no direction at this point.
Yes. Commissioner Jordan.
Just some clarifications, Ashley. This policy, is this, when did it go to 94%? Was it different in the past? That's one question.
Yep. So we had been operating differently prior to when the previous HR director brought in Evergreen Consulting. Evergreen Consulting came in, and from what I can piece together, they used more of an average approach in general. Where the 94% came in were the last 3 contracts. So for the last 3 contracts, which was 280, Protect 17, and PWG, we were advised to use 94% of the average market for step 1. And that is how those last 3 contracts were done. With those contracts, many of them are specialty roles that are very distinct and individual to the departments, but there are some shared type roles across the county. Example being administrative assistants are in some of those contracts. And so as we are looking at equal work for equal pay, like positions, we have administrative assistants and lots of other bargaining units and non-repped. So we kind of opened Pandora's box to a point. And so that's where I need to understand what direction I'm going. You can set it anything you want as of today moving forward. You could tell me to go to 80%, and I would lock that into our policy. And we would then be able to fall back on this decision and where we're going. But right now, because I have nothing documented, I need to understand where I'm going.
So what were the time frame of those last 3 contracts?
They were all at the end of 2023. So
Okay.
I want to say November for PWG and Protect 17. And I want to say it was maybe middle to end of summer for the 280 contract last year.
And do we know and I know we've had some conversations with the prosecutor's office, and they're not here presenting, but just what is your understanding of what their current step 1 is relative to this 94% number?
I can look that
Do we know
up.
if they're at 80 or they're at 70?
I have to go find where they're currently at. So if we move to, let's see, I have to go open that report. Give me just a second.
Maybe, is Randy in the room?
No.
Oh, he's in the very back corner
Yep.
waving at me on the screen.
Yeah.
Just a,
I was going to say, so currently an attorney 1 starts at, and this is for a non-repped, $30.56 an hour on a 1950 schedule, so a 37.5-hour week. That puts them at $59,596.70. They are moving to the 2080, which is the 40-hour-a-week schedule here in the next week. And so when they move to that 40-hour schedule, it puts them at entry of $63,564. So that's current state. If we were to look at 94% of market, that moves from that $30 to $32.34 an hour. If that's on entry, and then if we looked at 100% average, it would go up to $34.41. So about a $2 an hour difference. They are exempt, but we use an hourly rate because we have the 37.5-hour week and 40-hour week. So when we're looking apples to apples, that's where we're looking at that hourly rate. But it would be a decent increase on both of those, and I can put it in salary if you give me just a second.
What did you say?
I'd be curious to know, before the change to the 40 hours, because that's an action we're approving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this discussion around prosecutor salaries, what has been their number? Is it 80%? Is it 90? Just to get a sense of what we're really talking about.
Yeah. The problem with that is when the county brought in Evergreen Studies, who did the last salary study, let's just say I probably wouldn't recommend using them in the future. What I've been able to gather from their data is they pulled counties and entities that they thought were similar, and they just took an average. It doesn't appear there was a discount on it, like any sort of percentage change, but they also did not lift the top end of our scales. And they did not set some of the positions at the higher value that they should have. They left us compressed into the scale schedule we already have. So then on the back end of that, they had to slot appropriately into our scales, which then wound up discounting many positions because they couldn't be making more than their managers. So there's not really good math to back into a lot of these numbers for what Evergreen Consulting did, which is what we've been trying to clean up over the last couple of years. And that's also part of why I'm asking for a consistent philosophy, so we don't end up in that same place again.
But you do have a number in mind of what 94% would be today.
Yes.
Of market for the prosecutor. So my question is just, they do have a step 1 salary that exists right now.
Correct.
How does that compare to your number for 94%?
So
And I appreciate and understand all the history and the problematic nature of those, so that's helpful.
Yep.
But I'm trying to zero in on the gap between where they are and what this policy would actually mean
yeah.
in a specific way.
Yep, so currently, as of today, step one entry rate for an attorney one is $59,596.70, and that's on a 37.5-hour work week.
Okay.
Based on moving to the 40-hour work week, and if we did a 94% of the average, they would move to $67,269.74 at step one.
Ashley,
And what,
sorry.
Sorry.
Commissioner Jordan, I think I get what you're trying to say. What's step one divided by?
Yeah.
Divided by step six? Or step one current divided by what their, the 100% would be?
I think you answered it, Ashley, actually. And then my follow-up then is, what is the prosecutor's office asking for, just for clarification?
They're asking for step six, which would be the 100% average. So at that rate, we're looking at times $71,563.56.
Okay. And I don't mean to monopolize the whole time. I just had one more question really for Randy, who's hiding in the back. When you came and kind of presented the financial projections, kind of getting back to Commissioner Waldrop's question about what could we afford in terms of a philosophy, can you just remind me what were those projections based on in terms of expenses? Were they based on a 94% or some X percentage increase from where we are today?
Excuse me. The percent when I did the 5-year forecast, that was based upon where we're at today. So this either decision would be over and above that.
So would the 94% likely, if we reiterated that that's the policy, do you expect that that would actually increase the
It would increase the
expenses
cost.
in the?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I was going to say Commissioner Anderson. Chris Anderson.
Thank you for the promotion, but not quite. Because we're using the prosecutor's office as the example this afternoon, I did want to clarify what we are asking for is a salary for entry-level attorneys that is going to be competitive with the counties that we are competing with for, the people over here. We are not losing prosecutors to Snohomish County. We're not losing them to Clark County. We are losing them to some of the counties east of us before you get to the west side of the state. Grant County is starting people out at 95,000. Adams County is starting people out at 94,000. Okanagan County is starting people out at 95,000 as well. These are the counties we are losing talented attorneys to, and so that is who we need to compete with. And so initially, and just to clarify, our ask was not to set a false bottom of one of the steps on our current scale. Our ask was to regrade the entirety of the Attorney 1 salary scale. We understand that that might not be feasible from a budget standpoint at this point in time. And so what we're asking for is to get as close as we possibly can to some of those numbers so that, coming up in the next few months when the most recent law graduates from Gonzaga and the other universities are taking the bar exam at the end of July, when they get done with that our job postings, look attractive and, garner some more applicants so that we can fill those positions.
And I just want to kind of put in here too, yes, Grant County is hiring a deputy prosecutor at $95,000. The requirements for work align in some of the places. The hardest thing for us is we have the different levels of attorney. So we're looking at a level 1. And so if we want to add Grant County to this, we can. We would have to unfold and go pull the class specs of what does an Attorney 1 come in at, an Attorney 2, Attorney 3. A lot of what we're seeing in the market are blended rates, and so that's where we have someone go in and do the work and figure out what is the entry level for just having a bar and then coming out. If there are other groups that we want to throw in, like Grant, we definitely can, and then we can continue to blend this average out, and if it lifts it, then we have the data to support that, absolutely. So I'm comfortable moving in any of those directions. I just need to understand, I know, what direction we're moving, so that we can then put that information in there. The other thing about grades is there's a bottom end and a top end. So the other piece of that when we're grading positions from a compensation perspective is we also have to make sure that when a grade is selected, sometimes we do have to use a false bottom, because if you just move up grades, now you're paying too high on the top end for an attorney 1 or a associate assistant 1 or a human resources coordinator. There's a top and a bottom of these scales. And so that's part of what we look at as well, is for especially promotional positions, like an assistant 1 to an assistant 2, we wouldn't want to cross so far over into the assistant 2 range that we are now paying too high on the top end, where there's not the incentive to move into the next position. So there's a lot of work and science and comps that go into the back end of this, and it's why we have a specialist that works on this. It's a lot of work. So, but that's why we're recommending the staying within the grade, is because of where the top end comes out at within the gradings of where then we move into attorney 2 and attorney 3.
So there is a lot of work that goes into it, and there's a lot that's going on, and I think we need to have a further discussion on this. I think this is not going to get resolved today. I will say, though, that I think because the total compensation philosophy was already in place. The sentence that you're wanting to add is to add a percentage in there at 94%. That hasn't been in there in the past, because I think in the past when we did this, it was
80% of average. So basically what we were doing back in 2018, which is how this was written, is we were looking essentially at midpoint of the range. So for us, that's a step 7, and taking 80% of midpoint. So we'd be taking the similar group of other employers, and rather than step 1, we would go to the middle and then take an 80% of that if I were operating under the current way that the policy or the philosophy is written.
So it had 80% in the past. Okay. So I think we all know we need to look at it, but I think we're not going to get there today. But we also know that we have the looming, deadlines. Is, I've been trying to get the prosecutors this handled before they graduated in May, and we're already now almost the end of June, and we are now coming up on the next deadline, which is the bar exam, when everyone's, continuing to look. And actually at this point, people are already working, anticipating that they're going to pass the bar, if I'm not mistaken. So we're still having issues getting someone in the door today, and we have to figure that out. So, and I don't think that's necessarily figuring out what the entire philosophy is for everybody, because this is an emergency in my mind. So, similar to, again, what we've said on the deputies and on the corrections officers, we were saying that in Public Works when we looked at Public Works back in December, that it was an emergency to get these people hired, because if we didn't, we were going to be contracting out, and it was going to cost us a lot more money. We're at the point where if we had to contract, well, we know in the Public Defender's Office we're already contracting out, and it's costing us a lot more money. And so we have to figure out how to fix this now. I think when we last talked about it, we talked about the fact that we could fix it outside a commissioner's meeting, that you could work with the prosecutor's office. And I know you're asking us to kind of set an overall philosophy, but I don't know that we're going to get to that overall philosophy today, because I think we need to have more discussion on it. But we also have an emergency going on with the prosecutors and the public defenders. Public defenders are a union. So their contract doesn't come up till 2025. Correct. So we won't.
But they're going to, I would assume, they very quickly ask for their contract either to be open or an MOU to be put in place.
And they may, and that'll be a discussion and a decision that we'll make at that point in time. But right now, we have a group that's non-rep that we need to figure out.
Yep. So if you want me to go at 100%, we'll make that move effective the 22nd. I just need to know that that's the direction that I'm being given.
I don't know that we're willing, because I think we have to know what's realistic to get somebody in the door. I don't think 71,000 is going to get someone in the door today. I don't know. I'm seeing kids come out of college with 4-year degrees that are getting 75,000. So I'm having a hard time with an attorney that has gone to additional schooling, who's got debt coming in, is going to come in at 71, when and I stated this before, when I have a commissioner in Yakima who tells me that a starting attorney 1 is at 80,000 in Yakima. So that's just, I don't know. So I'm struggling with how do we get people, prosecutors in the door so we can help our criminal justice system function. Because I've got judges saying they're continuing cases because it's brand new attorneys that are coming in, and so they've got to give them more time, which again is costing us more money than figuring out what we're going to do to pay these people to get them in the door.
Yeah. You've so the range in all of those groups that I read off to you is 63,000 to 81,000 is what we're seeing in the range of all of those different groups that are in this study right now.
Okay. So Commissioner Jordan, I'm going to let you go, and then I think we're going to have to then table this discussion because I think it's a further discussion.
Just wanted to maybe float an idea. Is there any reason that we couldn't, in the very short term, move those prosecutors up to the 94% immediately, knowing that they're behind, while we continue to have this larger discussion about philosophy, budget, et cetera, which we all, I think, recognize we need to have? That would still move up the step 1, if I understood Ashley correctly, about $8,000. So it's a pretty significant increase. It may not solve everything, but it's certainly better. It's in line with what we've done with recent contracts, but it allows us to start somewhere and then continue to evaluate going forward. So just throwing that out there as an idea.
Yep, you absolutely could. It would be consistent with the other groups, but I mean, yeah, whatever you guys would like to see happen, we will make happen.
Okay. If it's brief.
No, it's quick. And I just want to, so I guess I was confused that the item in red here, the 94%, we haven't actually agreed to that.
No.
So,
Correct.
well, I'm in support with starting at that point and actually starting with that. So I just want to put that on the record. And I agree with Commissioner Jordan that would get us started. It sounds like there are some comps that need to be looked at to make sure we really understand what 94% might be, if that's the direction we went. Because it might be higher than what we thought. And so I would appreciate another look at what our comparable counties are paying, like Yakima, because I think if you look at the average of those, it is going to be in the range of what I think we've been discussing. So anyway, I think it's good. I support starting with the 94% and getting that philosophy going. And then I just want to put that on the record so as we continue the conversation and table it for further, I think that's a good place to start. And maybe if you can run those numbers again for comparable prosecutors, you'll find that 94% is getting us pretty close to where we want to be.
Okay, so, yeah, at this point, unless I have any other direction, I'm going to table the discussion, and I think we need to come back next Tuesday because we don't have a meeting on Monday. So to the prosecutor's office, that's going to delay another week, but I think we need to do it right. I hate to start to set a new salary schedule and then re-look at it. I think we need to really look at it and do it right. So.
Can I just hear one? Just one thought.
Okay, how many times did I say I was done? Okay, well, one more thing.
what you're witnessing is part of the struggle that all counties are going to be faced here. The courts have before them what they call case loading. And there is a move that would force the county to triple times 3 the number of public defenders we have, on top of trying to get prosecuting attorneys and stuff. So this is a big issue for counties across the state in terms of, one, how are you going to pay for them, assuming that you can find them. And so this is a big issue for us. So I just wanted to make sure the public was appreciative of the challenge before us. So thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, so we will continue this conversation next Tuesday and put it on the agenda.
Is there any specific information that you'd like me to bring to continue this conversation?
Commissioner French just said, "Where's the money tree?"
I agree.
No, and these are hard conversations that we're going to have. So anyway.
Right. I would just ask that you bring what it actually means in dollars. I mean, when we're talking 4%, 6%, what does that mean times 1,800 paychecks that are going out? I mean, that equals a big number.
Yep.
So, I mean, when we're talking everything in these single-digit percentages, we need to know what that looks like in reality to the budget, not just, 4%, 5%.
Yep.
So.
Okay, I'll work with budget.
Commissioner Jordan?
Just noting that I will be out of town on a county business trip next week. Commissioner Cooney may be as well, so we may need to work around schedules.
Sorry, I forgot about that. Yes.
Okay. Trying to be helpful here.
Thank you. Yes. So I think the other thing for me, Ashley, would be helpful is, which departments are we really having these issues in that are costing the county money at this point in time? Because I really see the prosecutor's office as it's costing us money by not having people there. So there's, which you're not going to be able to do a cost-benefit analysis of that. But we know that there's a true cost that is being incurred by not having people in those positions. And I think that cost is greater than paying the people to be in those positions. So that's something that you can't take into a philosophy. And so that's the hard piece for me. So now we will table this discussion. We will rethink when we're going to have it. Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. And we'll figure it out from there.
Maybe Monday?
We're not meeting on Monday. And Commissioner Jordan and I are going to be away at Whatcom County, so we'll be asking them what they are charging or paying their prosecutors over there while we're there. So we'll be there on Monday and Tuesday. With that, then, I believe we have an executive session that we need to do.
That's correct, Madam Chair. We do have one executive session under pending potential litigation pursuant to 4231-10-1I. Those who should be present are the board, myself, CEO Scott Simmons, Heather Arnold, Jeff McMorris, Sheriff John Knowles. Sheriff, is Chandra going to be joining us?
Yes, but apparently she will be, we were going back over there.
And I think that is the plan, to
Is that
hold
the
it back
plan?
over at the
Okay.
boardroom. And so Chandra Fox, the DEM Deputy Director, will also be joining. I think that's everybody. And I would say conservatively 30 minutes is probably the correct amount of
action?
time. No action.
No action, and we anticipate 30 minutes. Okay, and we're going to go back over. So it is 3:11, so we will say that we're going to start, by the time we kind of finish here, 3:20, or do we think we can get over there at 3:15? We'll say 3:20. We'll start at 3:20, the executive session, it'll go for 30 minutes, and so at the point that we're done, we will finish for the day as no action will be taken. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you back next Tuesday.